Oh, y'all. It's Saturday, so we're thinking about the epistle. And so the epistle for this week is is Peter going to the home of Cornelius in Acts chapter 10. So what's happened is I'll give you a quick heads up of the first 9 chapters. So chapter 1 is the ascension. Jesus goes away. Chapter 2 is Pentecost. Chapter 3, 4, and all that kind of stuff all happen. The action all happens in Jerusalem. And then in chapter 8, you get the stoning of Stephen. And then after that, you get Paul's conversion in Acts 9, and then in Acts 10, Peter is away, and he is at the home of a man called Simon the Tanner in Joppa, and he goes up on the roof, and he's going to do some study and prayer, and probably take a little nap. And he goes up, and when he goes up there, then he gets a vision, and the vision is a sheet coming down out of heaven with all animals, clean and unclean. And unclean animals are those which are prohibited in Judaism. And I'm not going to go into all those, but it includes things like shellfish and pork. So, so then it says, Peter, go kill and eat. Peter says, no, 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 no. I've never eaten anything unclean in my life. And he says, look, I declared it all to be clean now. Go kill and eat. And then he gets a word, and that word is there's going to be some men come to get you, and you're to go with them. Well, simultaneously, a Roman centurion named Cornelius, who is a God-fearer, and a God-fearer is a specific category of people. These are the people who have begun to accept Judaism as true. And so they accept Judaism as true, but they haven't gone the full way of conversion and they haven't converted to Judaism. They have instead held back because they won't get circumcised. And I'm going to give you a little heads up on that. So conversion to Judaism um, in rabbinic times and now sort of requires a Jewish rabbi to discourage you from doing so. And they're obliged to throw up kind of three objections. One of those is just that no, already got a place in the life of the world to come. Don't worry about that. You've already got that. Just keep the Noahide laws, and I'm not going to go through the Noahide laws. There's just 7 of them. You can read them in about 5 minutes. Noahide. So you've got a place in the world to come. So you don't want to take on six obligation for 613 commandments, mitzvah. You don't want to do that. And then okay, well, no, I really do. I want to do that. Well, you're going to be rejected by your family. I know. I've thought through all that, and I'm going to, I'm willing to do it. Well, the whole world's going to hate you. That's the third objection. So, so what they've promised already in the beginning is that you have a place in the life of the world to come. As I told you yesterday, it's not quite their place, but it's a place. You got a place there, and so Peter thinks of Gentiles in that way, and you can see it in in the passage we have for today, which is Acts 10:34 to 38. So what's happened so far in Acts is you had Pentecost, and then after the stoning of Stephen, then so what do you get there? You get Philip, one of the deacons, not the disciple, goes out into Samaria, and I believe it's probably where Jesus had already been in John 4. And the people there accepted him as Messiah, and so I believe Philip probably goes there and said, "That's easy pickings. This is low hanging fruit." And he goes out and shares the gospel with them, tells them the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say, and they say, "Yeah, that we believe that." We believe all what you just told us about the resurrection and all that. So he sends back to Jerusalem and says, I need to get some apostles slash bishops come out here and lay hands on these people. Now, the Samaritans are sort of the lost, they're the original lost tribes in that they separated themselves from Judaism. They only have the Torah, they only have the first 5 books of Moses, they don't have the rest of it. They believe that it went totally astray. They believe that ultimately the Judaism is corrupt, even more so than the Essenes did. We'll talk about them tomorrow. So, so they're kind of like lost sheep of Israel. So the disciples, a couple of apostles come out, lay hands on these people, they speak in tongues too, just like what happened in Acts 2 for, well, the Jews who were gathered there for the feast of Pentecost. So in Acts 10, then Peter, the 2 men come, hey, we're here to get a guy named Peter, our guy over here, the God-fearer Cornelius, had a vision that we're supposed to come get Peter, a guy named Peter. They said, okay. So he goes back with them. He's a little bit baffled by the whole thing. He's pretty proud of himself because he's going to the home of a Gentile, something he says he's never done before. Now, Jesus had prepared the way in some ways for this because when he calls Matthew to be a disciple, well, that's a challenge for everybody there. Wait, a tax collector? And the first thing Matthew does, we're told, is he has a banquet at his house. Well, the Pharisees comes, ask the disciples, not Jesus, ask the disciples, why'd your master hang out with tax collectors and sinners? The disciples don't answer that question. Jesus does. I came to call the sick, right? The sinners, not the righteous. So this guy thinks he's righteous. So, oh, okay, I get it. So they're already challenged a little bit. And then they get challenged again when they go to Samaria, because Jews didn't go to Samaria. They avoided it. If you're going to go to Passover, you go around Samaria. It's dangerous for one thing, but also we hate those people. We don't have anything to do with them. You see that with the way the woman reacted to Jesus, because we're told in John's gospel that we don't even share utensils with one another. And so you see that along the way, he's taken them to places they really would have preferred not to go to, when they go to Caesarea Philippi. That is completely pagan lands. So is the country of the Gadarenes, where Jesus heals the demoniac who's infested with a legion of demons. Then they meet the Syrophoenician woman. They're up in the region of Tyre and Sidon, which is outside the land as well. So Jesus goes outside the land with these guys multiple times in places they wouldn't have gone. The Gadarenes, certainly, because that's a place where they believe some of the gates of hell were. And then he took them directly to where they are. They're at the mountain when he asks, "Who do men say that I am? And then who do you say that I am?" And he with Peter's great confession. When they go up, I believe at the Transfiguration on Mount Hermon, that's the place where Enoch tells us that the fallen angels came and plotted to ruin the world. So Jesus has taken them in all these places. And then one of the last things he does, he takes them into the home of Zacchaeus, who's the chief tax collector. He's not just a tax collector, he's the one who oversees the other tax collectors in the region. So Peter's been sort of desensitized, let's say, to who he can hang out with. And now he comes here and he proclaims and he says, hey, I know that in every nation there are those people who fear God that he cares for and those who do right. He's really talking about Noahide issues there. And so what happens then is, well, there's a Gentile Pentecost. So we've already had the Jerusalem Jewish Pentecost. Then we had the Samaritan Pentecost in the eighth chapter of Acts. And now here in the 10th chapter of Acts, we get the Gentile Pentecost. And it fulfills what Jesus told them to do when he gave them their mission, which is beginning in Jerusalem and then go out to Judea, which is the province that Jerusalem's a part of. So it's the county. And then go out into Samaria and then to the rest of the world. But I don't think they had a good idea about what was going to happen when they go out to the rest of the world, because Peter preaches this and he's assuring them that they have a place in the world to come and they're good to go. And, God-fearers are all right, you know. And then what happens? They begin to speak in tongues too. And Peter's like, well, you know, if God gave them the Spirit, I guess the least we can do is baptize them. Peter's beginning to get a clue. He'd read Isaiah. He believed the same thing I told you Isaiah believed yesterday. Now he's getting a different idea. No, no, there's not two distinct classes of people in the world to come. No, he's gathering us all into the covenant community now. And he observed what God was doing. And so I guess all we can do is lay hands on that and bless it, just like we did in Samaria. So we should always, always, always be willing to preach the gospel to anybody, even if we believe they're going to reject it. Then we should always be willing to do that, no matter what the cost. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.